Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Darkwoods Paranormal, where every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and the people we meet along the way. I, of course, am your humble host, Gabriel Von Graves. Joining me, as always, is my incredible pain in the ass, Raven Knight. Raven, how are you doing?
Apparently, a pain in the ass, but awesome at being one. I'm great.
Only half that's right. So, Raven brings an investigative mind, thoughtful insight, and a genuine passion for exploring the history behind the unexplained. Together, our mission is simple: to introduce you to the investigators, historians, authors, and storytellers who continue to shape the paranormal community through research, curiosity, and respect for the past. Before we begin tonight's show, we'd like to recognize one of our valued partners, Dark Realm TV. Rave, how are the boys doing?
Oh, they're doing amazing.
Still waiting for their hot sauce. 3 J's.
You know, they keep telling us they'll send it to us.
They said it's in the mail. It's the oldest story ever.
It's in the mail. No, it's really good hot sauce, by the way. It's amazing, Tim. They're doing great. And I watch them every Monday night when they go live, and they're just a great group of guys. So I highly recommend them as well.
Well, make sure the boys send that. I'm sure that you gave them your address, so I don't know if I'll see mine, but it's fine. That's fine. Dark Realm TV has become an outstanding destination for paranormal programming. Original investigation documentary creators from across the paranormal community. If you're looking for a great content behind our show, we encourage you to check them out and support everything they're doing to bring quality paranormal entertainment to audiences everywhere. We'd also like to give a very special shout out to our friends at Shaker Cigar Bar, our friend Bob. Raven.
Oh, I miss Bob. Bob Weiss.
He's a good man.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
the owner of Shaker Cigar Bar. What a great guy. And we should go back. We should go back and see him again.
We should.
We do that yearly.
If you've ever been there, you owe yourself the experience. Shakers combines incredible history, outstanding cigars, fantastic food, drinks, and one of Wisconsin's most famous ghost tours. And while you're there, be sure to say hello to Bob, his amazing staff, and don't forget to tell him Darkwoods Paranormal sent you, and make sure you say Raven says hi. He likes you better than me. If you're joining us tonight, we'd love your help. Please click the like button, subscribe our YouTube channel by searching Darkwoods Paranormal Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, share tonight's live stream with your friends and family. Every like, every share, every subscription helps us continue bringing remarkable guests and fascinating conversations to this incredible paranormal community. Now, let's get to tonight's guest. Tim Nealon is the founder of Ghost City Tours, actually a really good one, and I unfortunately missed them when I was in where the hell was I? Nashville, yes. And I was actually going to meet with one of his tour guides, but I got stuck in traffic for almost 4 hours, Raven. I was so mad. In a Tesla, as I was watching my battery drain with anxiety, going, Raven, I ain't gonna make it.
He was saying this actually.
And you're like, buck up, buttercup. And I said, fine. Anyways, Ghost City Tours, the largest ghost tour company in the United States. After years of traveling and experiencing ghost tours that focus more on gimmicks, and that's 100% accurate, than genuine history, Tim decided there had to be a better way. In 2012, he launched Ghost City Tours with a commitment to historical accuracy, immersive storytelling, and authentic paranormal experiences. Today, Ghost City Tours operates in more than 30 cities across America and has become one of the most respected names in paranormal tourism. But Tim's passion doesn't stop there. He also the founder of Gallimander Tours, Pretty Spooky Tours. I messed up that name. I always do. Reveille Tours and the Building Nealon Reptiles. I'm Scared of Snakes, a conservative focus breeding program dedicated to endangered reptile species. Tim, I'm afraid of snakes, man. I can be honest with you.
He's like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you kind of are. Where he's exploring haunted cemeteries in New Orleans. No, it's not. Historic streets in Savannah, shadow-filled alleys in Boston are creating the next generation of paranormal travel experiences. Tim continues to inspire thousands of people to appreciate both history and the mysteries that surround it. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome Tim Nealon. Tim, tell us about yourself, my friend. You seem very, very cool.
I love it.
Tim!
Hey, Tim!
I feel like you totally like set me up to screw this up. Like there's all those accolades and stuff. They're gonna.
Well, it does make us look better. You understand this? There's a psychology behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why we have Raven. You know, listen. She fails, we both look good. I fail, both of you look good. You fail, we look good. It's a win-win.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it that way.
Somebody
but I like
loses,
that.
but
Somebody else is winning. All right. All right.
I like
The
that
psychology.
philosophy.
It's there.
So what was the question again? Who am I? Like,
who are you? And our audience that are maybe living under a rock and don't know who you are, why don't you explain to us who you are and why you started what you started?
Yeah. All right. So, well, kind of like you said, my name's Tim Nealon. I think you said Nelson.
Yeah.
But
I did twice, but then I said Nealon the last time.
I can't read.
I get that all the time. It's not a big deal. Like I just respond to it. If somebody says,
would you
Tim
mind
Nelson,
changing
like,
your last name? Just make it easier on people. I mean, just add an S. What do you
think? I
think?
don't want a last name anymore. I just want to be like, like Cher, but like Tim, and then everybody just knows it's me. I think the only way I think the only way that's going to happen for me is if I go on like a mass killing spree or something. Like I have to like, I have to like really.
That,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the only way I'm going to ever be remembered just by my first name.
Serial killers always go by 3 names. John Wayne Gacy.
They don't add anything to their coffee. It's just black.
Yeah,
like
black coffee.
Psychopath.
Psychopath.
I don't even like coffee. That makes me even more like insane. Like, yeah, I think that shit's disgusting.
Audible gas.
Well, to get back to your question. So yeah, I'm, Tim Nealon. I happen to own, a number of companies, but the one most people want to focus on is Ghost City Tours. And another correction, we're actually the largest in the entire world, Gabriel, not just the United States.
There's nothing more than the United States, my friend. Maybe you haven't heard.
I mean, there's nothing good except for the United States, but there's probably more out there somewhere
in the world. That's awesome, man. That really is cool. So you must travel often to set up a company. You have to go to the location, right? At least at once.
Yeah, I used to. I don't travel as much anymore because I have a pretty big team that works for me now.
Right.
But I still travel when I can. Like between now and the end of the year, I think I'm going to be on the road about 2.5 months. So roughly half of the rest of the year I'll be on the month. The rest of the year I'll be on the road. But back in the beginning, I mean, I was on the road almost nonstop. Between I think it was like 2012 and 2019, I earned like my million mile thing with Delta. Like I was on all the time. I'm just too old for that anymore. I'm like 46. I really enjoy my bed. I have a really nice weighted blanket.
Over 35, my friend. Not a day over 35.
Well, I appreciate that. That's all the caffeine I drink. But like I said, I have a really nice weighted blanket, and my pillow is just so perfect. I get it. When I'm 35, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll spend half the year in a hotel. But now I'm like, I think I mostly want to stay in my house and my bed.
Wow.
Like, I take pride in how long I can go without leaving my house, actually.
That's a good pride to have.
Yeah.
I'm the reverse. I think the older I get, I'm like, I want to peace out so bad every day. You know what I mean? Like
bed bugs, you have people you have to deal with, people screwing up where you're supposed to be, your car rentals, always dirty. You get in there and you're like, you guys should clean these, right? Every now and then. It's a lot of hassle. Isn't that right, Tim?
Just give me a year. I'll figure it out on my own. You know what I mean? I'll just need a year to do it.
Well, the worst is just like, the security at the airports. I know that everything's kind of back to normal, but the TSA, the fucking pub stacking authority is what I call them.
Mhm.
I mean, they're worthless. They're always yelling at everybody. They just put everybody in a bad mood. And then more times than not, your flight's delayed. It just aggravates the crap out of me. I would rather just stay home, you know. It's even gotten to the point, here in a couple of months, we're going to be spending 3 weeks in Oregon wrapping up a documentary that we're making. And I'm even contemplating just driving. And I live outside of New Orleans. That's a long damn drive. But I might just drive, I have a really nice car. It's pretty comfortable. That might be better than flying. I don't know.
We drive everywhere, Tim, for that reason, sir. Everywhere. I don't have to worry about a pilot having a bad day. I don't have to worry about somebody taking up their socks next to me, right? Putting their feet up because they paid their money for that seat. We just buy a yacht and a couple helicopters, brother. We've got it, man. We go wherever we want.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Tim, roll in this. Roll through it.
At one point I was going to get my pilot's license. And funny enough, everybody always thinks I'm lying, but I have these blueprints somewhere. I was going to have an airstrip built on my property. I have a pretty big piece of land here.
That's cool, man.
And, but the parish that we live in, the county as the rest of the country calls them, they would not allow me to put an airstrip on my property. And at that point I was just so pissed. I was like, wait, am I allowed to swear? I don't even know the rules here.
Well, you've already said fucking piss. It's fine. Continue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good, brother. We passed that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, but I was so aggravated. I was like, this is ridiculous. And I just scrapped the whole idea because I couldn't, because in my mind, I was like, how awesome would it be if I could just walk out my back door and my airplane's sitting there?
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
And don't get me wrong, I wasn't getting thfancy private jet, those $1 million ones.
Like a Piper or a Cessna.
Oh, yeah, just a little one.
Yeah,
just some putz around it. I thought that'd be awesome.
Do you want me to call your parish you live in? And I mean, Gabe's got some power. I'll call him and say, listen, he owns the property. Yeah. You tax him, leave him alone.
Oh, gosh.
There is some good things about Louisiana too. Right, it's just, and if you like those things, Louisiana could be a great place. It's just, I'm definitely a misfit here for sure. But
yeah,
I'll be getting out one day.
Yeah, soon. Which is
unfortunately maybe after this.
They're just gonna kick you out at this point.
So what you can do is you can move to Wisconsin where we are. You can build your own airfield. Wisconsin, that's kind of cool. People don't care. You got winter,
No, winter.
You got hillbillies and stuff. Love Wisconsin. Yeah,
dude. I grew up with
here in the winter. Who wants that? Nobody chooses that. Who chooses that?
I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, on the Appalachians, not too far from the highest point in Pennsylvania. So maybe not -40, but -10, -20. I don't care. Snow.
With our
boat,
care. Tim, we just go to the ocean in cold days, and when it's summer here, we'll just fly back. I got it, man. It's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a plan, but I don't know when I'm going to get work done. It's
just work on the boat. So I want to circle back though. I'm going to circle it back. You were talking about, you're obviously a worker. You obviously love what you do. And that's amazing to me because you have built this,
empire,
this great
world empire.
Thank you. And so I'm really, really curious how you got. There was the point where you said in 2012 that you decided that you wanted to make a switch. You wanted to change the way that things were going. So how did you do that? You saw that they needed something new in this field, and then you did it. I want to know how that happened for you.
Well, I think for me, history has always been one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite subjects. I have a personal library downstairs. I think I have roughly 9,000 books or something. And
good for you, Tim. That's awesome, man.
That's a lot of books.
And to answer your question before you ask, I have read more than you think, but not as many as I'd want. That's always the second question. But, history's always fascinated me. And growing up near Gettysburg, I became, kind of just addicted to knowing everything, talking about the Battle of Gettysburg, especially. I just wanted to know everything. And, when I launched the ghost story company, I really started Ghost City Tours as a joke. You might have heard me tell this story before. Despite the fact that, a lot of people in this industry think that I'm, an asshole or a dick or whatever, I'm actually a really nice guy. And I started Ghost City Tours to help out two people that were kind of good acquaintances of mine. They own their own ghost tour companies. They were wonderful tour guides, but they were horrible business people. And since I was 19 years old, that's all I've done is grow businesses. My first company was a marketing and web design company, and then I started doing software engineer. Actually, anymore, I'm just almost exclusively a software engineer when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I thought, I was like, hey, like you guys are cool. Like, what about, like, I'll start a company, you come work for me, and you'll make a hell of a lot more money working for me than, you would on your own. And they did for a little bit of time, but the company just took off. On day one of starting Ghost City Tours, it wasn't my intention to kind of like revolutionize the ghost tour industry at the scale that we did. It was, I just think this is cool. And I've always had an interest in ghosts and the paranormal. But, after literally just a couple of weeks, I would, occasionally go take a competitor's tour, nothing wrong with that. Everybody does it. Everybody does it to us anyways. Yeah. And, the stories I was hearing were just so egregious. It was ridiculous. I always use the example of the zombies eating babies in graveyards. Wow. There are ghost tour companies in New Orleans, even today, that talk about vampires as if they are real. Like they're flying around, they'll tell stories about, a tourist disappeared. And then 2 days later, they were found in the bathtub with all of their blood drained and 2 holes in their neck. Give me a break. Like, that is not true. It might be entertaining, but, in an industry where I feel that we have a responsibility to honor the history, I feel that that's doing an incredible disservice, because at the end of the day, we're talking about people. If you're talking about ghosts, you're talking about people for the most part, right? This guy lived here, this woman lived here, this is how their life happened, these are some events that happened, and this is why we think this person's still haunting here. And, I don't want, one, when I die, nobody's going to give a shit. But, if they did, I would like them to be like, I wouldn't want them to make up stories, Tim used to kidnap kids and keep them in his basement.
Oh, right.
Cut off their heads and, make soup in their skulls, and that's why this place is haunted. But that kind of ridiculousness still exists in the ghost tour industry. So, it was one of our founding principles, after those first couple of weeks, was that anything we put going forward, we need to do our due diligence, and we need to do everything we can to honor not only the history, but the people that we're talking about and the cities that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because, New Orleans is a great example. If you come to New Orleans and by the way, there are great tour companies in New Orleans other than Ghost City Tours. There's great ghost tour companies all over the country. But a lot of those companies, like, you would go home tourists thinking like, holy shit, New Orleans is fucked. Like, all the crazy shit that happened there. But it's not true. Like, so much of it is not true. But they keep perpetuating the myths and the nonsense because people click and people buy tickets for it,
Yeah.
It certainly, I do think that's one of the biggest reasons Ghost City Tours has been as successful as it is, but it hasn't always been easy. As you might be able to imagine, when you come into an industry kind of like a new guy, and just because I wanted to stick to my principles, I ended up kind of shitting on the entire industry. I was not a very popular guy for a period of time. That's okay. It is what it is. So.
Yeah.
Well, you hit on a couple things, Tim.
Yeah,
Sorry if you interrupt you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot is here at Darkwoods Paranormal, we've had the pleasure and privilege of being able to go to a lot of haunted facilities. And I think recognizing the history in the true nature of what happened to a building, it works better than we go to places that have like haunted dolls. They set up this whole aura thing where like they have haunted pictures and just stupid wacky stuff. And I always believe if you just stayed with the original story, let people enjoy the atmosphere of this old building with all the architect and the real history, I think that attracts more people than sensationalizing, what we call here at Darkwoods Paranormal the Zach Bagan of it all, where
oh no,
it doesn't sell. And as you know, everything's sensationalized because it's all clickbait.
Yeah.
And the people that I find that are true in nature, like us here, we're able to be more successful because we're built on something that's solid. When you start staging things and start trying to mess with a situation and present it in a way it's not, you lose the trust. You lose that natural respect aspect of it. So I appreciate that you recognize that.
Yeah, it's everybody's free to do whatever they want. Especially
absolutely.
I understand what you're saying about properties.
A lot of people died to give us that freedom. We should use it, but people use it differently.
Yeah. I mean, but I tend to agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, if you own the property, do whatever you want with it, right? But
Absolutely, it's their
it's
stuff.
it's but I've been to some of those locations as well where, I think that I'm going into like a haunted mansion or whatever it may be. And, it feels more like a sideshow attraction on the
Yeah.
inside than a
Yeah,
haunted location. And I'm sitting there thinking like you didn't need to put, mannequins with white sheets on them everywhere and like all
Yeah.
this, you guys have probably seen some crazy stuff too. It's just, I feel it's unnecessary. But at the end of the day, if that's your shtick, that's your shtick. Go run with it.
right.
I
I mean,
just,
sometimes
I'm not a fan.
we just say that though
So
too, like the history enough is it's just enough sometimes. Like that story
Uh-huh.
is just enough. Like you don't need to keep adding things
manufactured
to
things,
it and
yeah.
like whatever. When the
Yeah.
story, like I mean, we haven't been to Gettysburg, but we're going, but
Hmm.
you would go, okay, this battlefield itself is enough. You don't need
Yeah.
Mhm.
to make it, oh, it's so scary and all this stuff is all
Hmm.
going on. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
where we land with that too.
Yeah, Gettysburg is an incredible place. When you guys go there, you're gonna have a fun time. Obviously take time to go explore the battlefield and stuff, but don't lose sight of the fact that the town that you're visiting was part of the battlefield. A lot of people think that, for some reason the battle just kind of went around the town, and no, it went right through the town. I mean, everywhere is a part of the battlefield. So you'll find interesting stuff no matter where you go, whether it's on the battlefield or, walking
Yeah.
around downtown.
Well,
Like
thank you.
it's just a very special place.
That's awesome. So what made you wanna start, a a ghost tour space? There had to have been
Yeah.
something that you experienced and you're like, "This isn't right, guys." I mean, I remember, we were at I don't know if we should say it because I hope it's not one of your properties, but we were in Galena, and we were on a ghost
Nope,
tour,
not mine.
and, it was what's that? It's not
Not
you?
Not
his, not
mine.
his.
Nope.
We're good.
Okay. So we were on a ghost tour, and the young lady did a very good job, but it was cold
Oh.
out.
Mm.
And, she's like,
Mhm.
"Listen, it's cold out. We can go do the little ghost hunt out in the, cemetery, but it's cold. We can just sit here and watch too." And
Yeah.
I thought, I'm like, "Listen,
No,
people
it's
actually
raining. I
paid." I
can't
mean,
come
it
to
was
work.
like $35, $40 a ticket,
Yeah.
and at least give people the experience to go out and choose that.
Mhm.
You market it as a walking tour. People had to get to that space. We're outside, before we got on the bus and they drove us places. People already knew what the weather was, those,
Mhm.
and I thought it was very dismissive, because,
Mhm.
here it is. And I understand for her, she's been there many, many a times. And then we
Yeah.
went to an old cabin thing, and there was knocking on the wall from the driver that went in the back. I mean, it's very obvious. You just watch your eyes and watch, and
Right.
I'm looking at Raven. I'm like, how much do we pay for this? You know?
We
Right.
just both looked at each other like, okay,
Whoo!
okay.
Yes,
You
Yeah.
yes,
know,
yes.
And
It's fun
yeah,
times, man. It's fun times.
I hate companies like that though. To the best of our ability. I mean, and I think we've done a pretty good job. I think was it almost 2 years ago? Maybe it was last year. Somebody did a study of ghost tours just in America, just, in general, all of them. And by their math, not ours, it was like 57% of all people who take a ghost tour in America choose Ghost City tours. Everybody else is left
really.
with the remaining like 40 something percent.
Mhm.
But but at the same time, it's like, okay, even though you might be a smaller company, like you have to understand, like you're giving the industry a bad name. Like there are lots of people out there who will take a ghost tour
Mhm.
and even, like I said, even though there are some really good ones across the country, there's some really bad ones too.
Mhm.
And those really bad ones, if you take a really bad ghost tour somewhere, because let's face it, the ghost tour industry, like we already are fighting an uphill battle anyways. Like, the way
Absolutely.
most and when you do stuff like that, the chances of somebody taking a ghost tour somewhere else, you might have just turned them off from it forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
but I don't understand it. You know.
So how did
So
you?
go
Okay.
ahead, Raven.
Well, I mean,
No, I think we're on the same wave. I love it.
we might be, but I'm not quite sure. You did
Mhm.
mention that when you first started, so you did something completely different, and people
Mhm.
saw you as the bad guy, right? You came in
Yeah.
and you kind of changed things up, and you went your own different direction, and you seem like you're a
Uh-huh.
very to the point kind of guy, and I like that about you. But that
Mhm.
being said, like how did you go from that, right, to being this
Mhm.
person that has now 57% of sales when it comes to this, your business?
Yeah. Well, to get right to the point, as you say, I'm really good at what I do. Um, like,
There it
you know,
is.
it I mean, and that came across very cocky, and I guess I meant it that way, kind of as a joke. But the reality is, to succeed in business, like you have to have certain skill sets, you have to have certain knowledge, and um, a lot of ghost tour companies, they're founded by people who simply love the history and the ghosts of their city, and they say, "Hey, I think I can make money doing this by giving people tours of my town," and that's a wonderful thing. You should do that if that's a passion of yours. But like I've been doing marketing and all these things, 27 years now. And a lot of these people, they don't even take the time to learn business properly. So, I if they're happy with where they're at, that's fine. But, how are you going to compete with me? Like if that's your goal, and thankfully for them, it's not. But I think it's just a combination of ambition. I get bored very, very easily, and I want to, like, hey, let's expand into new markets. Let's do this stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't even realize, like, Ghost City Tours has its own clothing line. Like, it's not just ghost tours. Like, we have these documentaries coming out. We have Ghost City is way more than ghost tours. But I think it's just, work ethic, ambition, and drive. A lot of people see me here today and they think, well, I must have come from something. And, like I always say when this comes up, my parents busted their ass for me and my sister and my two brothers. But, growing up, like we didn't have everything, and, part of it's that too, once you get to a point in life where you start seeing some success because you've determined like, hey, I don't want to live that way anymore. It's very hard to back down because every day, I mean, even right now, every day I wake up and I think today's the day I'm going broke. And that's not going to happen. It's just not. But in my head, like, I remember the days of, I mean, when I was in my early 30s, which was only, 15 years ago, like I was essentially homeless for, about a month. I'm not going back to those days. So good luck stopping me. I think that's a lot of it too.
I love that.
I love
So
that.
I think it is actually a good practice to envision yourself losing it all, so you never do.
Every
You have
day.
to. Yeah, you have
Or
to.
have a
So
plan
what
B.
makes
Like, I think
you
people don't
have to?
no, people just don't have that plan B, or some people just, and some of us have always had that plan B in the back of our head because we know what it's like on the other end. So
Yeah, see, I have no plan B. It's like whatever I'm doing, like it's gonna
it's
have to
gonna
work.
happen.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like, and I don't, but sometimes it feels like a magical power. Like you just will it to happen. Like it's gonna happen, and you just
You
make it
manifest it.
happen. Like yeah, like you're not stopping me. I don't care who you are.
I love that.
So what
you know.
makes your ghost tours different from everybody else's? What sets you apart?
He doesn't
Well,
Zach Bagans it.
hey,
Sorry.
Zach. No, Zach's funny to me. I never have anything bad to say about Zach. Zach actually did me a huge favor a couple of years ago for my daughter. So, and I'm always thankful to him for that. But at the same time, it's like, there's not demons everywhere. Come on.
Unless you got the people around you,
True. No, I think what sets us apart, is honestly quality. Sometimes, as a nationwide company, we sometimes take flack. People say things like, "Oh, you should always go with the local company because they're going to be better," and so on and so on. And some of those local companies are great, but at the end of the day, we have a very rigorous training program. I mean, our guide training alone, sometimes to our detriment, it eliminates a lot of people who apply to our company. I mean, the other day we met because we're recruiting right now for the Halloween season, which is coming up. And I actually made the joke the other day, and I had to look online to back it up. More people graduate Navy SEAL training than graduate our guide training program. Seriously, like it's the truth. And I'm not implying that being a tour guide is harder than being a Navy SEAL. It is absolutely not. But what I'm implying is that, less people make it. I'm not implying it. It's true. Less people make it through our training than Navy SEAL training. Because at the end of the day, the guides literally are the company. I could be, whatever great CEO I am and build all these software things I do in the background to help our company grow. But if our guides are shit, our company's shit. So, we spend a lot of time working with our tour guides, and, even that, it sometimes it's difficult, like right now, I think we have, like last week, I think 432 tour guides, got paid, right? and it's so hard because even with that rigorous training and everything else, sometimes one will just slip through the crack, and we'll get a 1-star review from somebody, and when you can't run 700,000 people a year and get all 5 stars, it's just not going to happen.
No.
But for me, it's really discouraging because at the end of the day, these people put money up to have an experience with my company, and we didn't deliver. That's why we're actually the only ghost tour in America that has a complete money back guarantee. This isn't a sales pitch; it's just true. Like, I feel like if we didn't give you the tour that you wanted, you should have your money back. I think all ghost tour companies would do that, but they won't because most of them will go out of business if they had to give their money back for every tour that sucked. So it's just this constant, part of the software that I built that helps run the company behind the scenes monitors all these metrics, about our tour guides to ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, delivering the experience that we want them to deliver. Because nobody deserves to have their vacation half ruined because we give a shitty ghost tour. That's not cool. That's not fair. And I really do take those things serious and personal when I hear about those things. So I think just that relentless focus on, quality and execution is probably the biggest thing that sets us apart.
So what makes a good ghost tour? Since you kind of hit on that a little bit, what about a ghost tour? I know the ones that we've been to, I like history, but everybody likes that scare, everybody, and not people are there to be entertained. Not everybody's really super interested in, is it 100% real? Because half the fun is the magic of being scared. What scared us as children scares us as adults. We can't hide from that. So having that scare factor, I think, keeps people coming back. So what makes a good ghost tour? What elements do you believe has to be fundamental to make that happen?
I mean, it's absolutely the guide. Like I said, the guide makes or break the tour. It doesn't matter how good your script is. It doesn't matter, what you do. If the guide sucks, your tour sucks. I mean, so that's first of all. But our tours, we focus a lot on history. The way that I describe it, especially new people coming into the company to try to understand what we're doing, it's like I'm trying to be sneaky because even though I love ghosts and the paranormal, I mean, I've been doing paranormal investigations for almost 25 years. This is something that I truly enjoy. It doesn't matter. The history is still more important to me. So the way I word it is like, hey guys, we're actually tricking these guests because very few people actually book a history tour. If you put a tour out there that says history, you're going to have a couple 60-year-olds and, maybe a college student. That's really it. But what we do is it's like, hey, these are ghost tours, which they are, but we are going to fill your head with so much history by the time that you're done. But we do it in a way where you don't even realize that it's happening, so we kind of use that as like to get them in the door. And then we just fill their head with history and ghosts, of course, too. I mentioned 1-star reviews a little bit ago. I actually take pride in that, when we analyze all of our reviews and we look at the negative ones, far and away the biggest theme in a 1-star review that we get is that there is too much history and not enough ghosts. And I sit there and think, I can live with that. Like that's okay. Sorry, we taught you too much. But yeah.
So I think history does make ghosts. That's what ghosts are. They come from the history of whatever location or whatever was in that area prior to us being there. That's kind of the nature of it. So in your perspective, do you personally believe in ghosts?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've interacted with them. I've spoken with them. Like I said, I've been doing paranormal investigations for 25 years. I've seen some crazy shit. In my mind, there is zero doubt in my mind that ghosts exist. Now, what are they? That's a whole other question. I don't know. Yeah. But the way I word it is weird shit happens and we're able to document it. And that's pretty cool.
Right.
That is pretty
cool. And
cool.
not knowing the answer is actually the secret, I think, of the entertainment. Because once you find out that what it is, you lose that excitement that I think makes us all kids as investigators, paranormal investigators, going into places and having things happen and trying to, what was that, is what keeps you coming back. Just like a ghost tour, that history that you may not see the ghost that time, but it is there maybe next time, because things, as you know, don't happen to command because we can't control something we don't understand. And nobody has an answer what ghost is. So enjoying that element, I think, is superb.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you have all the answers, then like you said, where's the fun? Like, where's the mystery? You know, if we
Right.
knew what this all was, and we knew how it all worked, and we knew that how the role we play in it, like it probably wouldn't be as much fun, you know, to
No, absolutely wouldn't.
I mean, at that point, it almost really does become like a circus sideshow because if you knew that you were able to go into a building and a ghost was going to be able to do something on command,
Right.
People get bored of
yeah,
that
that's
for sure.
Where's
yeah,
the
it's like
mystery?
yeah, it's like that's fun for like 4 or 5 times, but on the 6th time,
Right.
like, okay, the lady says hi when you walk into this room with the Oscars. Like, you know, like it's like this gets a little boring, you know.
Okay.
Well, like Ghost Hunters, even Ghost Hunters International, what I think why I think they got so famous is that not every episode something happened, and it kept you coming back to the episode that it may happen. They bring you
Yeah.
to that point, but nothing happens, and yet you still believe them that you know what in that element something could happen. So I
Yeah.
think that's the magic of it. Just like ghost tours going in, and you know people have seen this or people have seen that. Just experiencing that this could happen is the
Yeah.
excitement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a huge interest in the paranormal. I mean, I actually think it's bigger than ever. Um, and I think part of that is the idea of, you know, not knowing what's going to happen. You know, because the reality is on a ghost tour, your chances of seeing a ghost are very slim. Like, I don't want to
Right.
mislead anybody and think that you know you're going to see a ghost on a ghost tour. Almost certainly you will not. Um, there are times though where people are on a tour and, you know, we've seen people see shadow people walking through the
Yeah,
cemetery or, you know, it happens, but not to the
sure
point. I mean,
does.
and if you look at our website, you'll notice like we don't say any of that stuff. Like you'll see other tour companies that are promoting their tours as, you know, scary or you're going to see a ghost. We don't even use the word
Sure.
scary because I don't know what that means. Like
Well, it's different for everybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I tell you that our tours are scary, you know, especially when we offer a money back guarantee, I already know that what's scary for one person is not going to be scary for the next. And all of a sudden, I'm going to
Right.
have all these people that are upset. You told me this tour is going to be scary.
Yeah, I'm
So
not scared.
so we avoid any of
Right.
those kind of, you know, we'll say spooky or things like that because I don't care who you it is. Walking through some of these places at night, it's spooky. But
Right.
is it scary? Maybe, maybe not, you know?
Well, we've been on investigations that something creaks and people will scream.
Oh,
And then
Oh,
we've
yeah.
been on investigations where it literally changes you feel something's entered you, you know, so
Yeah.
scary it depends on the individual. It depends on your tolerance. As an
Yeah.
investigator, our tolerance is way up there as it's scary, right?
Mhm.
We go into places that we know that somebody died, that
Mhm.
something could happen, you know, so we're already prepared for that. So I do like that the aspect that you don't try to over promise something, but what you do give is you
Uh-huh.
give an experience. And I think people will pay for an experience.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do. Almost 700,000 last year. I mean,
Right.
like,
That's
you know,
amazing. Yeah,
uh, I mean
700,000.
it's a lot of people. You know, there's an industry think tank. They're called Arrival, and you know they're kind of like a representation of the tour industry, the experience industry. And one of the studies they put out not too long ago said, you know, the average tour company in America makes less than $70,000 in sales a year. And that's when it hit home. I was like, holy shit, we are huge. Like, because in my mind, like I know the money we're making, but in my mind, surely everybody makes at least $500,000 a year because that's easy. And you know, to hear that, it was definitely put things in perspective.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
I love that. So how do you go about choosing your locations? Because,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
50 states, 51 states, and then, or unless you're Obama, then it's 52, right? But
yeah.
51, and then, you know, it happened, Raven. Everybody screws it up. It's fine. It's fine. I love
Wow, you
Obama.
went way back.
God bless
Like, I
America.
don't even know how you
I
brought
don't
that
know,
out of there.
right? But, you know, so out of all the states are the whole world, which you are involved with, how do you find your locations? What is it that makes a location accessible, first of all, to
Yeah.
actually be able to give a tour? Safety,
Mhm.
because insurance matters, right?
Yeah.
And then also, you know, you have to have a location that you can actually have people, since you depend on people to give these tours, right? That's a big,
Mhm.
the human element is
Yeah.
huge. 90% of it
Yeah.
is be able to get the people to do it for you, right?
Yeah. It's
So
the
how
hardest
do you
part.
go about choosing? Yeah, yes, sir. What do you do? What is your process of finding a location? What makes a good location for you?
Um, And so when you say location, I'm going to think of like a city, because like
Right.
we kind of are in cities. I
Right.
think we're in 54 cities right now. I think I don't even
Okay.
remember. Um, a lot of the times, you know, well, to be completely transparent, going forward, Ghost City Tours is probably not going to be opening up many more markets in the United States, anyways, because you know, um, there's a certain company out there. I'm not going to mention who they are. They're a piece of shit. Um, but they like to advertise like we're in like hundreds and hundreds of cities and all this other stuff. I mean, one, they're not. Um, but it just gets to a point where it just becomes stupid. Like why would you open up a ghost tour in like Akron, Ohio? I'm not saying there's no ghosts there or anything like that, but like really, like the tourism industry supports a ghost tour in Akron, Ohio. No, it doesn't. Um, I balance it out. So I look for cities that have a really cool history behind them. One of the newest cities that we just launched was Baltimore last week.
Mm.
And
Oh.
Baltimore actually has an incredible history. Like a lot of people think of
Mhm.
Baltimore right now and they just think of drug addicts and crime. And they're not 100% wrong. But at the same time, like the city of Baltimore has an amazing history when you start
Yeah, it
reading
does.
about it. So when I was helping, try to put together the scripts and figure out what our tours were going to be for Baltimore, I was even surprised. Like some of the stuff that happened, in not only in the Inner Harbor area, which is what everybody always thinks of when they think of Baltimore, but in all the adjacent neighborhoods and little suburbs and stuff. I mean, during the Civil War, even during the Revolutionary War, I mean, and everything in between. So we look for that bonus points if the area that we're going to be doing the tour in actually looks historic. A great example of that is New Orleans again, or Savannah, or Charleston, or St. Augustine. You walk those streets and you can just feel it. These buildings are hundreds of years old, and you can almost imagine, everything that happened there. So that's another criteria as well. Um, three, I also in my mind, I'm like, if I don't make at least $1 million on a market, it's not worth my time. Um, I mean, just to be completely blunt, we're big enough right now. Like, if I'm going to go to a market and make $100,000 a year, I know this sounds absurd to some people. It's literally, it's not worth our time. We have much bigger fish to fry. And on top of that, it's also, how friendly that city is to business. There's like a good example of this is California. We have a couple markets in California. We're actually going to open up San Francisco here in a couple months. San Francisco has been on our radar for almost a decade, but I kept postponing it. I mean, but the biggest ones is, do I personally, and selfishly, like, do I personally find the history of this city interesting? Are there haunted locations that will fit together in a way that we can create a tour route where people aren't walking 2 miles? Nobody wants to walk that far anymore. All those things come together, and we'll just make a decision. Uh, Sometimes I let my employees decide. Like we actually had a contest a couple years ago. I said, because I want everybody to feel like they're a part of the company and they have a say. Because even though I'm the CEO, like at the end of the day, I'm nobody special. Just have a different job than they do. I don't let the CEO thing go to my head. But the last two cities they voted on were Hollywood and Las Vegas, which are like the two worst cities that we have for ghost tours. I'm like, why are we even running tours in Las Vegas? Like because we
Las
wanted
Vegas is
to.
dying, man.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, people, don't go to Las Vegas to go to, ghost tours. They go there to eat great food, lose a lot of money in the casinos, and see some titties in a strip club or something. I don't know what they do.
But it has
Like,
remarkable history though, with
oh, it does.
gangsters and
Yeah.
Yeah.
suicides. I mean, it has a lot of negative history to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly does. Especially, the old town,
Absolutely.
downtown, Las Vegas.
Right.
Not the.
Yeah.
I mean, the strip has plenty of weird shit going on too. But
Well,
our
that's just the
tours,
people.
we don't go anywhere near the strip on our tours.
Right.
Yeah, but well, that's pretty much how we decide.
That's
Or I
interesting.
decide.
Lovely.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it, obviously. That makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense. Like, we're not going to start up a ghost tour in middle of nowhere, Wisconsin.
There's a town of 100 people. You
On town of
probably won't
100
make that
people.
million.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
Well, these companies, they do that because what they're trying to do is they're trying to look for a way to say like, haha, we beat Ghost City in this way. So they do these things. I call them asset collectors. Like you'll notice there's different types of business people. There's people like me like I consider myself just an operator. Like I love to get shit done. I love to build things. I like to have rock solid, successful businesses. And to me, that's the definition of success. Somebody else's definition of success might be like, haha, I have more cities listed on my website than GoCity does. But the reality is one of my small markets will run more people than all of their markets combined. So but yeah, you could say you're in more cities than GoCity, but you can't say that you run more people than we do, or you're more popular. It's just it's stupid, and honestly it gets boring after a while to hear their nonsense. So
I love that.
So
are you gonna bring up the Bigfoot thing, or do you want me to?
Oh, I wasn't. But I did want to. But we can come back to Can we come back to Bigfoot? I want to.
Well, first of all, before, go ahead. Go ahead, Raven.
Okay, we've talked a lot about business, which is really important because you are, you own a business and you're running a business. But you did mention that you've had your own personal experiences in the paranormal, and I'm really, really curious.
I love that. Dog's back there.
We love dogs. What's your dog's name?
That's Toby. He's a dick.
Toby. Dick. Okay.
I mean,
sorry, Tobes.
Don't get me wrong. Toby, so he's like a pit bull mix. And I found him alongside the road one day. And like he's the biggest dummy. Like I was driving down the road that I live on, and there's a truck in front of me. And all of a sudden, you know how you are when you're driving, like you're paying attention, but you're kind of not really. You're just
I have no idea what you're talking about, Tim.
Right,
I pay attention to every moment. Listen to me, my insurance company. Absolutely, listen. Yes, listen. I mean, your car could be a weapon, but we understand what you're saying.
You drive a Tesla, Gabriel. Listen.
Well, the truck in front of me, all of a sudden just swerved off the road. So my eyes went with that truck, and I'm like, whoa. But then all of a sudden I look back and I see this red thing in the road. It's the dog. Like, and he was literally like 2 feet in on our side of the yellow line. And I'm thinking, you dumb shit, you must got killed. So, obviously I make sure the truck driver's okay. He was fine. But then I look back at the dog and he's still sitting there. And I was like, good luck to you, buddy. But the second I hit my gas, he came running after my car. And that's when I was like, fuck. Like, I was like, all right, get in my car. And and he's been here ever since. Like I have 5, my wife and I, we have 5 dogs here now. Nobody needs 5 dogs. But we tried to find his owner. He was actually microchipped, but whoever put the microchip in him didn't register their information to the microchip. Oh. So the microchip literally read like blank.
That
so
sucks.
That's him there. What were you asking me about?
I was asking you what your experience. What was you could clip note and give us one of your craziest experiences when it comes to actually something in the paranormal.
I mean, I've had a lot of them over the years. Like I said, 25 years of doing this, will lead you down a lot of roads. Some have dogs on, but I mean, my favorite, let's just, because I know we're kind of limited on time. I don't want to turn this into a 4-hour podcast for you guys, but my favorite haunted place of all time is a place in Tennessee called Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. And like, because Ghost City used to have, and we're going to be bringing them back, but we used to do ghost hunts all over the country where we would rent these very famous haunted locations and you could fly in and spend a couple nights ghost hunting with us. And, like you name it, I've been there, but Old South Pittsburgh Hospital is by far the most haunted place that I've ever been. And really? I was talking to some of the guys from Ghost Hunters the other day. Who was I talking to? It was Brian. And I mean, he said the same thing. He's like, let me put it this way. If you have not been to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, you really owe it to yourself to go there. It's an incredible facility. The guy that runs it, his name's Ronnie. He's a really nice guy. He's really done a good job remodeling the facility. And so in that hospital, I mean, we've had everything from, just shadow people nonstop. We've had shadow people, you literally, to the point where by the end of the night, you're like, oh, there's another one. EVP sessions. I mean, we've had some really fucked EVP sessions in the hospital. I hate to use the word demon because, one, I don't even know if I believe in demons. I'm not a religious guy, unfortunately. Maybe I will be someday. But there's this thing that we encountered. Like, I don't have any other word for it other than, a demon or a human entity or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
And that thing was bad. It was very violent. We were attacked, often in that part of the hospital, and stupid us, we'd go back. Like, because it's like, I'm not going to be the pussy. Are you going to be the pussy? Okay, then I guess we got to go back to that part of the hospital. It's really just a bunch of grown men upon peer pressure to each other to go back to the part of the hospital where this thing would sometimes, once I actually saw it literally. It was me and a group of people. We saw it lift somebody off the ground, probably about 6 inches, and push them into a wall. It's the first and only time in my life I've ever seen anything like that. And what do? We take the woman back to one of the nurses' stations, make sure she's okay, and we're like, dude, we got to go back there. And,
I mean, I would totally do that myself, just so you know. I would totally
curiosity.
I would just go right back.
I mean, it wasn't,
okay? All right. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't all good. The next 2 years of my life were very interesting. We'll put it that way. It was all kind of weird stuff, and usually not good stuff, started happening in my house to people that were visiting my house.
That's too bad.
All that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to get into that in too much detail because, one, I feel like if I speak about it, I'll speak it back into existence. And two, I think
very, 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 very possible, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And two, I think the demon angle is just overplayed. I'm not saying that was a demon. All I know is that was definitely something different. But I feel like that angle's played up. The best part of ghost hunting for me is just the EVPs. People often ask me, when I go out, what kind of equipment I use, and I'll tell them, like, anymore, I literally just take a voice recorder. I have a Roland field recorder that I take with me everywhere. That's the only thing I use anymore, because to be able to go to these haunted locations and actually be able to sometimes carry on a conversation of maybe. I don't want to fool you. It's not like a half-hour conversation, but, it might be 2 or 3 sentences on both parts, like exchange, where we're actually having a conversation. That's incredibly powerful, because at that point, in my mind, that's even more compelling than video. Yeah, because video, you're always going to have those people saying, that's pareidoia, that was your shadow, that was something, But when I'm sitting there, but when I'm sitting in a room by myself, in this haunted, abandoned location, and I have something talking to me and I can hear it through my headphones, and we're having a conversation. Like, to me, there's nothing better. There's no better piece of evidence than that, because how do you misinterpret that? People can, and this is why I don't share any evidence that I collect anymore, because I get tired of hearing oh, it's fake and, all that stuff. But if you were there with me, it's like, how can that be anything but a ghost?
Thank you.
It's so awesome. I don't even know where to start. I've had so many locations, some locations start coming back to mind, Bobby Mackey's, Mansfield Reformatory, St. Augustine Lighthouse, Hillview Manor, which, isn't actually too far from you guys. It's up there right above Pittsburgh. Just these incredible haunted locations. I mean, you name it, we've had experiences, and we've had about every experience you could possibly imagine, to the point I don't even know where to start.
Well, that's amazing. I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
We've said before too, like, the best piece of equipment is literally yourself.
The human body, absolutely.
You walk into a space, and we walked into spaces before, and you just feel it, and people, and I'm gonna put myself on the line and get some hate. They use the cat balls, they use all of these other pieces of equipment. They're spending all of their money on these pieces of equipment, when it's like, honestly, though, like, a cat ball you can easily debunk, a REM pod you can debunk, but when you walk into a space and you actually feel it, you could possibly debunk that, saying, okay, well, you're going to a space and you're projecting something and making something happen yourself, but at the end of the day, your body is the best read on, we've got that natural fight or flight, and we know it. When something's like, hey, woo, this feels off, something feels wrong, that's a really good sign. Well, in the way of paranormal investigating.
Well, I think the biggest problem, and I'm not proclaiming to be an expert here or anything like that, but I feel like, the biggest problem in the paranormal investigation world is all the equipment, because, and by the way, I'm happy and willing to be corrected if I'm wrong by anybody, but as far as I know, there is no piece of equipment out there that detects a ghost. None. Even, stuff like EMF detectors and stuff like that, it detects electromagnetic energy fluctuations.
Right.
Is that a ghost? I don't know, and neither do you. These SLS cams, I know sometimes people will get compelling video or something, and by the way, maybe they work. I'm not saying they don't, but to me, it's just, like that makes no sense. Like I can't buy that. But even the camera, there's been times where, we used to do those ghost hunts I was talking about. And because people would come to these events, we would actually supply all the equipment for everybody. I mean, we literally had like 70 night vision cameras, like more REM pods than you can imagine. And people were free to borrow it throughout the night. There were times where I was leading these groups and they're, looking down at a mel meter or, doing this through a camera, and a shadow person will walk right in front of them. And I'm like, holy shit, guys, did you see that? And they're like, no, what was that? I'm like, put the equipment down. Just put the equipment down and like look with your eyes and like look around, and but that's what TV trained them to do. TV trained them that, in order to go ghost hunting, you have to have all these gadgets. But you're absolutely right. The human body and my voice recorder, just because I love it. Like that's the best ghost hunting tool that you have. And so many people are willing to hand that off to a box that goes beep. Don't do that.
Well, one of the most compelling evidence I've ever experienced was during broad daylight in a room, right? I mean, not everything happens at night. Most of the stuff, I mean, Raven and I had an occurrence here not too long ago in broad daylight at 10 o'clock in the morning, So, it is unfortunate that everything's usually done at night, but it's because that's how people are built. Your senses are a little bit more alert when you can't see things around you. So there is some gravity to having to do things at night. But as an investigator, 24/7. I mean, it could happen at any time. A lot of the people we talked to, like I was just putting away dishes and this happened. And
I mean, it's a very common misconception. I mean, if ghosts are anything that are in line with what we think they might be, there's no reason that they're only there at night. And as a matter of fact, and you guys know this because you just mentioned it, like EVPs, for example, you can get them just as easily at 2:00 in the afternoon as you can at 2:00 at night. There is no difference. But, I think, the nighttime thing, I mean, one, TV helped perpetuate that, you have to do it at night because, it's more spooky. But I do think there's some advantages to going at night. You mentioned one of them, your senses do tend to be more heightened at night and you are more aware. And the other thing, and I never really come up with a good way to articulate this thought, but, we think ghosts are some kind of energy doing something, right? Like it's like, especially the visual ones, like whether it's a full body apparition or a shadow figure or whatever it might be. And the way I always thought of it is like, why do people see those more at night? But when you think about it, it's really easy to explain. I tell people, like, take a candle out in the middle of the day, like when it's sunlight, like you can usually hold that candle out at arm's length and you probably won't even see the flame. But take that out at night and you can see it from 5 miles away. And I think that's part of the reason why people are seeing more of these paranormal things at night, because if these things are what we think they are, and it's a small amount of energy, maybe they actually are occurring all throughout the day. It's just, we literally don't see them because that contrast isn't there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe,
love that.
But yeah, you don't have to find ghosts at night. You can do it at any time.
So what is next for you guys? What special projects do you have going on that are going to give people the wow factor?
There's a lot. Did I mention how I get bored easy?
Yeah.
You did.
So, I mean, the last 6 months at Ghost City and really the last year has really been about behind the scenes work. I mentioned earlier that I'm a software engineer, and one of the things that we have been building and we just recently launched, it's actually I don't know if it's a secret project anymore, but we call it Casper. And what Casper does, it literally runs my entire company behind the scenes. Every ghost tour out there right now, every ghost tour company, you go to buy tickets and they use a ResTech platform, a platform where you can buy tickets and, all that kind of stuff. We built that on like super steroids to the point it can literally almost run my entire company for us. So we've been spending a lot of work with AI and actually real AI too. Being a software engineer, it's really funny listening to most normal people talk about how they're using AI. And I'm like, no, you're not. So we've done some really cool things with that help our business run. Now, on the side of things that the public will see, one of the big things that we've been diving into is the media side of the business. I enjoy telling stories. I enjoy doing research. I enjoy being creative. And unfortunately, as CEO, of a company that, is as large as Ghost City, and we're not like, huge, but we're big enough where I don't often have time to to be creative anymore. I'm sitting in meetings with CPAs, or earlier this afternoon, I was in meetings with lawyers. Like, it's just, you have to do CEO things. So we have launched our whole media division, where we're not only producing, like podcasts and stuff like that, but we're actually creating feature-length films, and we're actually we're in the process of wrapping up one of them in September, and we're getting ready to start the filming process for the second one now. And the first one, it's actually the Bigfoot one, which is, so maybe here's your chance to bring up Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Do you like, are you fascinated with Bigfoot, or like?
So we have an ongoing, what would you say, Gabriel? We have an ongoing discussion.
Okay.
Disagreement.
Okay.
I was saying discussion. Gabriel is not a believer in Bigfoot. I am definitely 100% believer in Bigfoot. Yeah. So like, we have guests on, and we often ask them whether or not they believe in Bigfoot. It's like one of these things that we do. Gabriel goes off and on. Like, he's on the fence, and then he goes off the fence, and then he's on the fence again. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So Tim, Bigfoot is a $7.5 million operation. Everywhere you go, there's Bigfoot merchandise everywhere. So when people commercialize something to a point, it removes that element. I think that we've talked to people. We've even had a lady on that Bigfoot lives in bunch of Bigfoot lives in 100 acres that she lives up in. I believe it was the Smoky Mountains,
somewhere in there.
She has. Yep.
Yeah.
So I do think that people do see stuff. I believe them. I believe that they believe that they see stuff, whether it be a skinwalker, a mimic, or something else. I do believe that it is very possible that I believe I've experienced different dimensions before. So I do think that they can time slip a little bit. But am I a big believer that there's Bigfoot hiding out in my woods? Probably not.
See, I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there that think that they can, move between dimensions, make themselves invisible. Respectfully, I think that's all nonsense. I think they're just an animal. And because that's what the evidence shows them to be. Now, when people the problem with Bigfoot, and this is why, and it's a shame too, because what people do is they take something that they can't explain. I had a sighting of what I think is a Bigfoot, and they can't explain it. But to try to explain it, they'll start adding more unexplainable phenomena on top of it, which makes
orbs,
like all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute. So let's just assume for a minute that Bigfoot is a real animal, which is my opinion. And we're trying to prove that this animal exists by saying that it, jumps between dimensions and makes itself invisible, or it turns into an orb and floats away. All you're doing is making it that much harder to prove that something exists, because now now I got to prove that it's a real animal, and I got to prove that it's a time traveler, and all like it's not. I mean, one, do you know how much energy it would take? So we know that there's dimensions, right? And we know that energy can move between dimensions. Like, for example, like gravity probably does not originate in our dimension. Like, a lot of the people who study this actually think gravity kind of leaks into our dimension.
Absolutely.
But the amount of energy it takes for an animal, we did the math on this, by the way, for the amount of energy it would take for an animal the size of what Bigfoot is reported to be to actually move dimensions would be more energy than is produced on planet Earth in an entire year. So where's Bigfoot getting this energy from? Because even though, we talk about quantum physics and stuff like that, which there's a lot of people out there when they talk about quantum physics, they need to go read like the Dancing Woolly Masters or something like that to just get a primer, because they have no idea what the f they're talking about. They just say quantum physics, and like people that study quantum physics don't even know how quantum physics works. How you do, sitting in your chair, in Kentucky with your beer, saying that the Bigfoot jumped
in the basement. I get it.
Let's just stop that.
Holes. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think the idea of being a skeptic of Bigfoot, it's actually a really good position to be in, and I applaud you for being that, because unless you've seen something or experienced something that makes you think like, okay, this is a real thing. Like, I think that should be the position most people take. But, in the work that I've done, to break down the Bigfoot subject as quickly as I can, but as comprehensively as I have, one, what people think they know about Bigfoot is actually a very small percentage of what is actually known about Bigfoot. And the reason for this is because a lot of the people that have these experiences, whether it's a habituation case, like you're talking about that lady with the Bigfoot that come around her property, they don't talk about it. Over the last couple months, I've become really good friends with Cliff Barrickman, who you guys might remember from Finding Bigfoot. He was on Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yes.
So when I go visit Cliff, like because people send him stuff all the time. And one time we were sitting in the office in his store, and he just started pulling up all these videos and all these pictures that people have sent him over the years that he can't release because he doesn't have their permission to. But the stuff that he has would blow your mind. And on top of that, there's actually a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but there's a scientist out of University of North Carolina. His name's Darby Orcutt. And Darby is one of the very few scientists who's actually taking the Bigfoot idea seriously. And he's one of the first researchers to actually do a proper DNA study at a scientific level. And even though I do not know what they're coming up with, Cliff has told me a couple things, and I don't want to violate any confidence or anything like that or anything. But what I can say is there's stuff that would really surprise you out there. It's not talked about. And on top of that, I've actually seen a Bigfoot before, and I know I have. Two of them actually. So for me, it's like I can't not believe in it. Actually the last time I saw one was with Cliff, actually, when we were doing some Bigfoot research in Oregon a couple months ago. And what was cool about that is it was actually backed up by footprints. It'll be in the documentary, but Cliff also put out a video. Cliff runs the North American Bigfoot Center, and they have a Patreon account. It's like $5 a month or something. If you're into Bigfoot and you haven't subscribed to it, go subscribe to North American Bigfoot Center on Patreon. It's a couple bucks a month. And they put out these videos that are very, very good videos. And he breaks down our sighting in one of the videos. Long story short, we were filming the documentary. We were hiking through an extremely remote piece of the national forest in Oregon. My wife and I saw something strange on the hilltop, maybe 30 yards away. It just looked like a big black stump. But then I saw it shift a little bit. And when I saw it shift a little bit, that's when I was like, holy shit. I looked back at my wife and I was like, look up there. I didn't realize she was already looking up there. But when she looked at me, we both looked up there. It was gone. And Cliff was about 30 feet in front of us. So I was like, Cliff, like, what the and so he came back, and he actually, on the walkies, I talked him to right where I saw it standing. And there were footprints right there, and he cast those footprints. And, you could see where the animal was walking away.
Yeah.
But once again, if you're one of those people who believe that Bigfoot can make it disappear, the fact that I looked away for a second or two and looked back and it was gone. I mean, that's just easily explainable. It just moved. But people say, oh, it disappeared into nothing. No, it didn't. It just moved. Anyway, so no, I if you don't believe in Bigfoot, that's fine. Go spend some time in Oregon or Washington or any of these hot spots, or just come out when we're out there. Shit, come out when we go out there to film. We'll take you up in the woods for a couple of days. It might change your mind.
Well,
I'm game.
being a
I'm
skeptic,
there.
just like being a skeptic of the paranormal, it's what keeps me trying to find it. I've actually had Bigfoot experiences here at my house. I had something that I can only explain as a shapeshifter as well. So not knowing and not believing, God, did that really happen? I got experience to get that again is what keeps me going on for Bigfoot. And just like the paranormal, I sit there and we always talk about some of the things we experience. And there's always that moment, I think, that you have to intellectually look at and like, did that really happen? Oh, yeah. We have to go there again. So I think being a skeptic probably brings in more money because I'm like, what is it? I want to believe that, because without mystery, my friend, life gets pretty damn boring, Oh yeah. So other than this project was as huge, how do people find you?
So me, good luck. I'm kind of a recluse. Even though I appear on the podcast and stuff like that, I'm one of those people. I'm actually pretty uncomfortable in front of a camera. I would almost rather nobody knows who I am.
Well, how do we find your company?
GhostCityTours.com. Just go to GhostCityTours.com. I mean, we're on all the social platforms. I mean, you can go to any of them and just search for Ghost City Tours. and you'll find that company. If you want me, the only one that I kind of keep up with is Instagram. It's just, I mean, just Google Tim Nealon on Instagram. You'll know it's me when you see all the reptiles, because that's really all I post, from my reptile conservation center. It's just reptiles. That's me.
Which I think is really cool, by the way, and I don't want to discredit that. Did you want to talk about that at all?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Reptile Conservation Center, it's actually one of the largest ones in the United States. And for the species that we work with, we're actually the number one facility in the entire world for one of the genuses we work with, and one of the species that we work with. So the whole idea behind the conservation center started because I've had a lifelong interest in reptiles. I've kept snakes my entire life, until Louisiana made them illegal a couple months ago. We had 400 boa constrictors in our facility.
Oh my gosh.
I love them, but right now our focus is primarily on critically endangered reptiles from Madagascar. So there's a genus of geckos that's called Europlatus, the Europlatus geckos. They are the leaf-tailed geckos from Madagascar. Google them. They're amazing creatures. Unfortunately, a lot of the species are critically endangered because of deforestation, because of, collection for the pet trade and all that stuff. But we're one of the few facilities in the world that can keep them alive at the scale that we do, because these are not easy animals to take care of. I mean, the Europlatus, and by the way, we're in southern Louisiana, keep this in mind. If my building gets above 82 for more than a couple hours, I'm going to have a lot of animals start dropping dead because they're not heat reptiles. They like it cool. But we work with them. We work with a number of chameleon species from Madagascar as well. The most prevalent, the most populous one that we deal with here, we got about 65 Parsons chameleons. And Parsons chameleons, they're amazing, majestic animals. I mean, it's a chameleon that's literally as long as your arm by the time its tail stretched out. I mean, it's the size of a house cat. And, they're in the same boat, and it's actually a really sad situation. I'm a huge animal lover, which is how Toby ended up in the house, because I was like, all right, come on, you got to come. But it's really sad to see what's going on in places like Madagascar, because the forests are being cut down. And these animals, most people on planet Earth don't even realize these animals exist. It's really easy to say hey, save the whales, save the pandas, save the elephants. But how do you save Europlatus giganteus? Because it's so uncommon, it doesn't even have a real name. Nobody cares because they don't even realize these animals exist. So, I took it upon myself, to build out. I mean, it's a 15,000 square foot facility just on the inside. And we care for about 3,000 animals every single day. I have a team of people down there, extremely dedicated, wonderful people who do everything they can, because there's some animals that we're working with, and this isn't much of an exaggeration. If we don't have success getting these animals to breed and produce, there's a good likelihood they're going to go extinct. And to have that pressure on you all the time, sometimes it's actually a little overwhelming. A good example of that is what we think is a subspecies of Parsons chameleon. We're actually getting ready to do some scientific research with a couple of veterinarians and publish some scientific papers on it. But we think that this Parsons chameleon species is actually multiple species, and there's ways to tell them apart. And we got some of these animals in, and we are literally the only facility in the entire world that has any of them. Every green giant, they're called green giant Parsons chameleons. We're the only facility in the world outside of Madagascar that has them, outside of the wild that has them. And I remember when I got them in, I mean, one, it was incredibly expensive. I mean, because we had to pay for an expedition. It was like a month-long hunt where we sent local Madagascar people on this big boat ride. And then they hike over all these mountains to get to this area where these chameleons inhabit, but is being cut down. So we finally get them into the country, months and months of work. I mean, most of this goes out to this guy named Jay I work with. He did the work for that. I just paid for it. And I remember getting them and putting them in their enclosures, and it was just I was ecstatic. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that we have these animals here. 30 seconds later, I realized, if I screw this up, I'm going to be remembered as the guy that made these chameleons go extinct.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Tim the Killer,
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, we've had good luck. We actually have 2 clutches of eggs from them incubating, because breeding reptiles is not easy. It's not like you put a boy and a girl together and they make babies,
Mhm.
we've had to do a lot of research and put a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort into figuring out not only how to keep these animals alive, but how to breed them.
Sure.
And then how to incubate their eggs and how to and now we have babies. How the fuck do I take care of a gecko that's this damn big? Like, we got to figure all this shit on the fly. And you can see I'm getting excited about this because, honestly, the Ghost City tours and all that stuff. It's great. I'm very grateful for everything I have. Like I said, I grew up without much, so this is
Right.
I'll never take it for granted. But at the same time, and this can't happen. Remember how I said I'm always thinking I'm going broke? Like Ghost City tours could go away tomorrow, and I would be okay with it on one hand because that means a lot more to me because we're making a difference, for animals, and we're standing up for animals, and we're doing great things. I say that at my funeral, I hope that that's the thing that I'm remembered for. If I'm not remembered for Ghost City tours, I think that'll be okay. 3 days from now when I'm dead. I always like tempting the universe. I don't think I'm going to die in 3 days, but I was tempting him. Yeah,
okay,
come on, kill me in 3 days.
Wood right now. Here, right, Sam, I'm knocking on some wood for you.
But but no, I don't want to keep it going. But no, the reptile thing, it's always been a part of my life. And once I had an opportunity to build this facility and hopefully make a difference, I jumped on it to do so.
That's very cool. Actually, it takes a very human element to want to care for something that nobody else will. So that's fantastic, man.
Not only that, but you pick up stray dogs off the side of the road and you save reptiles. That's amazing. And you give people this amazing experience when they go on ghost tours, which they might not get anywhere else. So I'm commending you, Tim. I think that you're doing an amazing job. So, yeah.
Well, I thank you guys. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, thank you. Raven, do we have anything going on we want to end with that you're familiar with?
The funniest part is we were talking Bigfoot, and our guest on Sunday is actually all about Bigfoot.
Who is it?
All about Bigfoot. His name is Matt. Met him at Stanton, in Stanton, Kentucky, when we were at the Bigfoot Festival, and he told us this amazing story about Bigfoot.
Very animated. I look forward to him. Yep.
His experiences with Bigfoot. So super excited about that on Sunday. Gabriel, you're just gonna have to listen. And I know that I actually heard most of the story. Gabriel, I don't even think heard all of the story. Because when we were in Stanton, Kentucky at this Bigfoot festival, it was insanely busy that day. We were actually talking to people from 9:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, and we were so
non-stop.
busy, and it was amazing. We had people.
Yeah, people love Bigfoot.
They do.
We've interviewed a couple, people in the Bigfoot community, like Cliff Berrickman, which is actually how I became friends with him. We've interviewed Matt Moneymaker, who's the founder of the BFRO, and those 2 episodes are the biggest episodes that we've ever done. Really the Cliff episode, but we had to do it in 2 parts because it ended up being a 4-hour podcast. Wow. And I think between those 2 episodes, we ended up getting 500,000 views on just YouTube alone. And by the way, this is when we were just starting the podcast. We weren't even trying. Yeah. Matt had 450,000 views on YouTube. Probably 3 million downloads. It was crazy numbers. And it just always makes me laugh. We're a ghost tour company. We put out this podcast and the Bigfoot episodes are the most popular.
Bigfoot.
So, yeah.
There's that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's been an absolute pleasure hearing your story, learning about Ghost City tours, and discussing the importance of preserving history while exploring the paranormal. Conversations like this remind us that every haunted location is more than just a ghost story, and also preserving something that is going extinct takes a very human element to want to take care of. We also love dogs. So conversations like this remind us that every haunted location is more than just a ghost story. It's a piece of somebody's history waiting to be remembered. To everyone watching, thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. If you enjoyed tonight's program, please remind yourselves to like us, Darkwoods Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and share tonight's episode with someone who loves haunted history and the unexplained and reptiles. Thank you once again to Dark Realm TV for supporting independent paranormal creators, and thank you to our friends at Shaker Cigar Bar in Milwaukee. If you ever in the area, stop in, tell them Darkwoods Paranormal sent you. For my incredible co-host Raven Knight and my new friend Tim, remember, Every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and people who we meet along the way. Stay curious, stay aware, and most importantly, and above all, stay safe out there. Tim, hang around for a second, and I want to thank everybody for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay!